Why has it taken so long to get human crew missions back to the moon? I mean, not knowing anything about it.
It's pure policy. It's a matter of money and do we want to do it. So after the second Apollo mission, the American public just stopped watching. Apollo 13 happened and it was a dangerous mission and they almost didn't make it back. That generated some interest and focus at the time, but after 6 actual landings, they canceled the rest of the program, downsized, and we've been doing the space station and going, the space shuttle ever since. The shuttle Columbia accident in 2003, which killed 7 astronauts, allowed or focused on the policy side, and there was a plan by the president to go back to the moon with people and robotics and everything else as a way of moving out beyond low Earth orbit. But that's, that will then take 15 years to actually come to fruition.
So I'm going to just skip through a couple of these because they're probably less interesting. If I'm glossing over something you'd like to hear about, please let me know. But Becky, you want to skip this one? Skip this one as well. There's just a quick slide on what we are really expecting teams to spend. So I mentioned that historically you often see that the prize winning team will spend about 2.5 times the prize value trying to win the prize, and it would not surprise any of us if that came true. Again, this is really about the cheapest that we think a team could realistically do this is $30 million, so the break-even point if they were to win all the prizes. But going to the moon is not easy business. The real crux point is what launch vehicle you buy. The cheapest one on the market that could possibly get you there is a little bit over $6 million. That organization has been nice enough in support of this prize. They have offered a 10% discount to anyone who's pursuing this prize. Several other companies in other industries have offered similar discounts because people really want to see this one, both because it's cool and selfishly because they think it's going to lead to more business for them down the road.
That company is actually called Spacex, and it was founded by a guy named Elon Musk, who's on our board, who was also the founder of PayPal, if you've heard of PayPal. So internet entrepreneurs getting into this commercial space business, there's several out there.
And the 2.5 to 1 cost to prize ratio, I mean, is that something that you guys came up with on purpose, or is that just kind of what you realize kind of like historically?
That's sort of what history has borne out.
It's played out.
Yeah.
And is that now being adopted as a model by others who might be offering this as a potential solution, or?
Yeah, that is sort of a metric that when people are writing prize rules and trying to decide what prize purse goes for a given set of requirements, they'll sort of try and use parametric tools and other things to estimate what the winning team might spend and say, okay, divide that by 2.5 and you're in the ballpark of what we think is probably the prize value. But it means that you have to be careful about writing your rules to make sure, A, that there is a back-end market, because obviously no one's going to spend more than your prize money if that's all they're ever going to take home, and B, that you're very respectful in making sure that they own all the intellectual property relating to designs, and it's not Google and it's not X Prize, it's the winning team.
So would you guess that like the McCain, like your car challenge, like, I mean, they're thinking
the $300 million battery
like
prize.
$750 million to develop.
I'm not sure if they put that level of thought into it.
Right.
I don't know. They may have.
And from the X Prize Foundation perspective, once you get up into that $100 million, so this was a $300 million prize, it's not clear that the model would hold even the 2.5 to 1 or anything. So that was, when you're looking at traditional industry and traditional companies and you're valuing things in a traditional dollar value, we don't expect the major aerospace companies to be coming to this to win. So with the major battery efforts for GM or for somebody else, you're really looking to bring innovation in from outside the sector, not saying what would the value be for GM to develop that battery. So.
Great. Thank you. If you want to move on ahead. This is just a little bit about why it's difficult. Obviously it's difficult, but some of the specifics about why. The moon has enormous temperature swings. If you are in direct sunlight or if you're not, you're talking about a difference of almost 400 degrees. So obviously you can imagine any battery, anything metal is going to swell and contract, etc., etc. So designing a system that's robust enough to handle that is extraordinarily difficult. Bandwidth, our entire Mooncast, this high definition package, we're probably talking about 15 minutes of high definition video, which doesn't seem like that much until you realize the cumulative total throughout all history is 0 minutes. And the reason it's just hard to get that amount of bandwidth on a vehicle itself that has very limited amount of power to push out through an antenna, and probably has a small antenna that maybe doesn't even point towards Earth. It may be an omnidirectional antenna.
So we're talking about just about 1 gigabyte of information, and it'll take, we think, somewhere on the order of 24 hours to transmit back that 1 gigabyte. So think about your transmission rates.
Most of these teams will not build fully autonomous rovers, but will look at driving them from the surface of the Earth, and so you have to, one has to get accustomed to the speed of light delay for a round trip for information from the Moon to the Earth and back is about 2.5 seconds, so that's sort of a psychological thing, et cetera, et cetera. This is a difficult challenge. It can be overcome, but this is just a quick summary of some of the problems that will be facing all the teams. Thank you. Next slide, please. Education, we've talked about a number of times. This is of huge importance to us, and I know it is to Google as well. We are already working on this, and this is fortunately this is easy, right? Kids love space and dinosaurs. We've got one of the two. They're all going to be engaged about this if we can just tell them about it. And we can use this as a great, exciting avenue to actually force them to learn when they just don't realize it. So we have worked with the St. Louis Science Center to develop a number of lesson plans. They're on our website now in PDF format and in HTML. People are starting to use this, and this teaches you from the basics of gravity and about the moon's history and how far away it is and how you would plan a mission. And they go from the elementary level up to the high school level. When students get to the college and grad school level, we almost don't have to do anything because the Google Lunar X Prize is being assigned as a design project in almost every technical university in the world. If they're looking for a cool, exciting project to give their sort of late-term undergraduate or early-term graduate students to look at that requires them to think about business and different types of engineering, what better one than something that's actually a real project that might win the students real money. So we hear about this anecdotally all the time and are trying to find better ways to help promote what those students are doing. Next slide, please. Working with you guys, obviously online is a huge part of what we're doing, and we are improving that all the time. That's what Mike, who was introduced by Brett, is working on, and our colleagues out in the Mountain View office have been very helpful. But you can follow us on Twitter. I wouldn't be too surprised if someone here has tweeted about this very meeting. All of our teams are actually required to blog. All of our teams are actually required to post video to YouTube. So you can go online if you want to learn about the human interest story or about the technological problems. You can actually hear it from the teams in their own words on a YouTube video on your iPhone, sitting in bed whenever you want. We're using Facebook, we're on MySpace, we're trying to, one of the main drivers of traffic to our website is some KML files for some things that Google did with X Prize a few years ago. We're really trying to figure out how to engage that whole community. What kind of maps would they like to see? Obviously there's huge potential there. Becky, if you go to the next slide, there are some specific URLs for how to find this, but I'm sure that you guys are savvy Google users and can find all this yourself. So I think that's almost it. One other program that we have right now is called Lunar Legacy. The backstory behind this is that on Apollo 16, one of the astronauts carried with him this picture of this family, which he left behind in this very sort of poignant moment, and it was his legacy to his children, just saying, hey, I was here. And that, surprisingly, he seems to be the only astronaut who actually did that specific thing. So we have said, well, now we have private teams that are going to the moon. Maybe they can carry photographs and messages from people here on Earth as well. Give them a chance to do what Charlie Duke already did in 1972.
Maybe they can roll up to that and take a picture and see if the photo still looks that way, or
right.
X-rays have colored it out.
So you can go online on our website now and you can send a picture and a short text message in return for a $10 donation, which goes to help fund our education programs and things like that. So people are starting to use this. It's a fairly new program that we're working to really improve, but it obviously, I think, has some great potential to be an exciting thing that you give someone for Valentine's Day or a birthday or something like that. Next slide, please. And I think that's basically it. So I do have some backup slides of more detail about teams if you would like, but that's the spiel, so thanks for listening.